In Love is presented by Smile Direct Club, who makes it easier than ever to straighten your smile without brackets, wires, and monthly office visits.
For $100 off your aligners, just go to smiledirectclub.com/podcast and use the offer code INLOVE. Welcome to In Love with Michael Rosenbaum
And Chris Sullivan,
where we explore the universal language of love,
walk through the struggles of love lost,
and together navigate the bumpy and gratifying road to happiness.
Loving me, loving myself, working on my state of mental health. And I never thought it would go this far. You said we'd just be friends, but I'm standing here full of emptiness. I confess, I'm a beautiful mess.
All right. This week we are talking to two of my favorite comedians. I've known these guys for a while, the Sklar brothers.
I was so impressed by these guys because I was like, I don't really know them that much. I've seen them and they're funny.
Have you ever seen anything like it, the way they interact?
Holy shit, you guys are in for a treat. I mean, let it get going, man, but once it gets going, you could just see there's just genius there.
They are individuals. They are independent individuals. They have their own souls and spirits and hearts, but it seems as if they'd share a mind in a way that I have never seen twins.
Yeah,
share a mind
Mia,
before.
you know, you were laughing. I looked at you and you were laughing pretty good. No,
Yeah, I mean, they're comedy staples.
Yeah, there you go. You heard it here.
When could I be a comedy staple?
Well, maybe.
Jeez,
Anyways,
man.
the Sklar brothers.
Yeah, thanks for the support, guys. Write a review, subscribe. We appreciate it so much. It helps us out so much. I know we say it a lot, but we need you. We're building a show, and we're doing it for free. We got the one advertiser right now, Smile Direct, who's awesome.
Yeah,
And
helping bring this to you for free. Smile Direct is presenting the whole thing.
this stuff really works, too.
Yeah. Right now, my teeth have never been whiter.
They
first of
do
all.
look whiter.
Right?
I was going to say.
I've been doing
I was
them.
like, I didn't want to ask, but you've been using the
Yeah,
whitener?
I've been whitening my teeth.
It's so easy. They give you that little
So
mouth guard that
easy.
hooks up to your iPhone, and it's like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and the liners straighten them out. I like
You can give us a call on our In Love hotline at any time, and you can ask us any question.
Anything.
You say, hey, Sully, Rosie, I've got this best friend that we've been best friends for a decade, but I'm in love with this person. What do I do? You know, it could be anything.
Really anything.
We don't have the answers.
And we want your help, too.
We
you
might-
might have the answers.
Yeah,
We need.
Maybe you got the answers. Well, hey, you know what? Call. If you don't have a question, why don't you call and leave us an answer?
323
207.
5676. Let's get into the Sklar brothers.
So this is the room of stuff that your wife doesn't want other people to see.
Well, this is my house, not his.
Oh,
Right.
I know.
Oh, I don't have a wife.
Oh, you don't
That's
have a
why I
wife.
thought you
Oh,
thought
okay.
maybe it was. Yeah. I mean, look at me.
I know,
But
you
you
don't.
said I know, so that kind of hurt
I
my
was like,
feelings.
yeah, that confirmed what I thought.
I mean, when you're
I
looking
mean,
at
wife
There are
comes,
no-
all this shit goes in
There
the
are
garage.
enough hockey jerseys up here to tell me you don't have a wife.
well, I thought maybe it was the AT-AT from Empire Strikes Back or
No,
the Fred
that-
Krueger.
The AT-AT's amazing.
Thank you.
The AT-AT's
I love
incredible.
Original of the era.
I look around, I go, is this why I'm single? But I think, it's,
I think it goes much deeper to your personality.
Not why you're single.
well, do you want to go there?
That's
Why
what this
you're single?
podcast is
Are
about. Hey,
we
Sklar
start-
brothers, welcome to the
Hi.
podcast.
Welcome.
Can we start? We're here. Are we in? Is it in?
You're in.
My God.
You're
It's
in
nice to be in.
love
Aw.
with Michael Rosenbaum and Chris Sullivan. Here we
Hi,
are.
boys.
One of you isn't married.
No,
Both
we
of us
both are
are.
married.
Both of you are married. Who got married first?
Deeply married.
Randy got married first.
I got married in 2001.
That's deep.
in honor of
as-
9/11.
Well, preemptively in June, so I
Yep.
knew something was going to happen. I was like, we gotta
Lock this down.
lock this down now.
for the world.
I want to know that I'm being loved for love
Not for
itself,
grief.
and not for
of the end of
a
Grief of a
changing
nation,
world.
yeah.
Exactly.
And then what you followed when?
2004.
2004. Was there always pressure? Did you feel like since he's married, I got to get married? Or
I don't know if I felt that pressure. Maybe it was somewhere in there, if I'm being honest. Maybe there was something like, am I going to be alone?
I don't know.
forever?
It's great. It's better when we're in different places.
Yeah.
Maybe it was in there.
I don't know. 2004 is when I moved to the Canyon, though. And I love it up
You
there.
live right near me, man. You were so happy. I think you're probably happier than any other podcast you've done because you were just the proximity.
Someone's like, man, you got to come up here and you got to do this at this house. And I'm
Everybody
like, no,
else
I'm
is
coming down here from right over there, and it's beautiful.
Oh, my God.
I love it up
put
here.
Jason
Just
right
become
in
a
his
regular
wheelhouse. Yeah.
regular guest.
Well,
on
I'm going to
this
come by and
podcast.
do this. You guys cool with that?
Is that cool if I hang out?
I'm going to
Wait for
try
my
on,
kids' school to
try
come
on
out?
the Pat LaFontaine jersey if I need to.
Is that pre-Pat LaFontaine or
Oh,
post? All right, sorry.
Pre-Fontaine.
It's a terrible pre-Fontaine joke.
Pre-LaFontaine joke.
Dude, it's got to be, I have a brother. I don't have a twin brother, but, he worked for me for like 4 years, and it drove our relationship into the ground. And we're on top of each other. And it just was like, and finally I said, we can't do this anymore. And
Well, no. You explain it. When you said he worked for me,
That's it.
that's the end of the
yeah,
relationship.
I was just trying to like,
So
he's
Jason,
my
what's
brother.
it like working for Randy?
Well, it's hard.
I drive a hard bargain.
For any of our listeners who are unfamiliar with the Sklar brothers,
Which is most.
first of all, shame on you.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Second of all, they are a supernova of a comedy duo. They are twin brothers.
Cheap seats on ESPN, which will last like 4 or 5 seasons, right?
Yep.
I mean, they've done tons of comedy specials and roasting. And so if you don't know the Sklar brothers, you're like, who's talking right now?
Yeah, that's got to be hard.
Well, that's not important. We could probably lower your voice in post,
Yeah,
right?
lower Randy
Lower
and
me.
post.
Jason, raise him up.
The first time I met my brother,
Yeah, she was a great big fan.
he was putting the lotion in the basket.
My favorite when he got really mad.
Wasn't that the best?
Just crazy.
Wasn't
I
it
mean,
the
it's-
worst when you found out he just talked like that?
Well,
like
it was-
he wasn't putting on a character?
Ted
That's
Levine.
just his voice?
It was
Levine.
so scary that it made me afraid of the late afternoon. That's how much that movie made me.
The late
The
afternoon.
la- didn't it make the late afternoon
Yeah.
scary?
Yeah.
Like the night is scary,
Dusk.
period. But like a 4 p.m., it's really kind of overcast.
Yeah.
That's scary.
In his apartment, it was always night.
House. It was a house.
House.
and it was come on, he was a homeowner.
Because the
guys.
windows.
I wonder what he paid in property tax.
Do you
Yeah.
remember his line to what's her name?
Clarice.
Clarice, when she knocks on the door and she's looking for someone, and she asks, "Do you know so and so?"
He said, "Oh wait, is she a great big fat person?"
I mean, come on, who writes that?
Was she like
Well,
a great big fat person?
I
You
mean,
can
and-
do it, Sullivan. You
and
can.
by
do
the
it.
way,
Oh,
you can't say that nowadays.
no.
What do you say? How would you say it?
Wait, was she dealing with weight issues? Yeah.
Oh,
wait,
oh,
is she?
yeah.
Was she her body dysmorphia? Oh wait, was she yo-yo dieting?
Oh, wait, does she have a thyroid issue?
Oh wait, what's her metabolism like? Oh wait, was she okay with her shape and we just need to adjust?
Not nearly as scary.
No, it's not as scary if he has a sensitive approach to her
If
body.
he incorporates
happens to be mindful.
Also,
if he happens to be mindful of
I
other
want to eat
people's-
her
yeah,
face.
yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to fatten her up so her skin gets loose because I love the skin and I want to eat that.
I
But
want to I want to kill her and then I want to wear
bear
the
her
skin.
sin and the because I myself. But the point is,
The
I
point is-
also subscribe to the idea that body image that Lizzo is putting out into the world. Look at that.
Was she a great big ball of energy?
Was she a great flute player? She have a great personality.
She was a good storyteller, wasn't she?
Was she a great big fan of life?
She had a great. She a great big.
I'm remembering her now.
She a great
This
big
could go on for at least an hour.
facts of life fan.
Silence of the Lambs, folks.
Were you always a comedy team, or did you start out individually, or how did that come to be?
We started together as a team. The first time we stepped on stage was now. How long has it ran? 33 years ago.
So we were 14, and we're almost 48.
14.
Yeah.
In
So-
in what kind of venue?
St. Louis, Missouri, we performed at our high school
Talent
show, the
Nice.
Parkway North Follies, in front of 300 people. We went back and saw that theater. We were back in St. Louis, went back to our old high school. We were doing a project for Audible. Whenever we go on the road and do stand-up, whenever we land in a city, we kind of give ourselves the challenge. If you have 3 days to do stand-up in the city, all right, can we write 5 to 10 minutes of comedy about this, what we're experiencing about this city? And it forces you to go out. It forces you to experience things. It forces you to talk to people.
Yeah.
And then write.
Right.
Create, other than the set.
your venue,
Right,
to
the
your
town,
locale,
to the city,
Yeah.
and also try to get an understanding of the
best is when you can kind of write something about the town, but it's applicable everywhere else.
and you can pull that into the act.
Right.
So we were back in St. Louis. That was the last city of that tour, and we went back to our high school.
Which our high school had a smoking lounge, by the way.
Not for the teachers.
No, for the kids.
Wait
like
a
a
minute.
lounge where kids could
No, come on.
Kids could just,
That's- yes.
release the steam.
Well, they had to be
immediately.
18 to get cigarettes then,
No,
right?
I would look out in the smoking lounge. I'd be like, there's no
Were
way.
the laws different then? Did
They
you
were.
say 16?
They were.
Was it 16 for
I
cigarettes?
literally would look
no
out in
law.
the smoking lounge and be like, there's no way you should be smoking because I know that you're pregnant.
That's what I mean.
Our engineer Mia is like, you guys are old as fuck.
Right? And that's a fact. I mean, it
I'm
was a
older than
different
you.
time. I don't think you are.
47.
Oh, so are we.
Oh, gosh.
Turned 48 in January. But so the idea is that we were back there and we went to our high school and we saw this theater, which had not really changed that much.
No.
Right.
And it seemed a lot smaller, of course.
Sure.
But we went on stage because we both, this is how dumb and kind of beautiful and then not thought out it was. We both were like, we love comedy. We love comedy. We love comedians. We love watching comedy.
We loved comedy at a time when I don't think a lot of people loved it or knew about it.
Who are your favorites?
I mean,
So in different ways, it was David Letterman as a broadcaster and a guy who
Gary
created
Shandling,
Gary Shandling.
Richard Lewis, Seinfeld, and then as
Ellen
we got into
DeGeneres, and of course,
Where were you getting exposed to the late night?
right?
HBO.
So HBO. So we were one of the early. Our parents had cable early,
Sure.
and so we would watch it and we would record it, and then we started watching
young comedian specials, so it'd be like Sam Kinison and Rodney Dangerfield's 9th young comedian special. Was it the 9th?
I think so.
Robert Townsend, Seinfeld.
Robert Townsend came on stage speaking in
A British
accent. you know.
First, 4 minutes.
2 minutes of his thing, he spoke in this British accent, wearing a white scarf. Was he wearing a white jacket? Black guy wearing a white jacket and a white scarf.
He wrote and directed and starred in Hollywood Shuffle. I don't know if anyone saw that movie, but that's Robert Townsend.
And then after 2 minutes, he said that I'm from the south side of Chicago.
great joke.
Hilarious. And it was so alternative and weird. And then, but
Dom Herrera.
we learned Dom wasn't in that one, but we learned everyone's bits. And then we would go around when our parents would be like, "What's going on? How are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
They're playing bridge in the basement.
So
And we
when
would just do
you
the
so when
bits
you
for
went
them.
on stage in high school, did you do your own material?
Some.
So because we didn't know, because there's just no way to know unless you.
No
have
one's gonna shit on you for doing other people's material in high school.
but I feel bad about it still. But
My first 2 auditions for high school plays were a monologue from Forrest Gump and a monologue from The Fugitive.
What for? What for?
just like-
Was it? He had a hand. You find this? Was it that?
No, I did Tommy Lee Jones telling them that they needed to search every farmhouse, hen house, outhouse, and doghouse.
that's good. Good.
Yeah, it was,
And what was the other one? Forrest Gump.
and the Forrest Gump one was I was talking about all the different kinds of rain in Vietnam.
Let's hear it real quick. I just got to hear it. I got to.
A
We can
little
edit
bit
it.
of stinging rain. Rain that seemed to come straight up from underneath.
That's great.
And you did the accent and
And I-
everything.
and I
You're
did the
doing
whole thing.
dialect. Okay, so
I
my
cast you.
I was
I would
aping,
cast you
aping
now.
the whole. I mean, I
So-
got cast.
Whatever.
All right,
so
of course
my
you did.
daughter is in my oldest daughter is in high school right now. She's in a performing arts high school, and I just went to her back to school night, and she's taking speech, she's taking improv, which she's already done the groundlings a little bit, and she understands comedy
She's
in that
funny.
sense. She's funny.
Yeah.
Well,
but
she's better, right? She better.
She'd
It's
better.
the only genes we can pass on.
That's
to
all I can
another-
pass on.
Don't you make me look bad.
That's it.
know.
Don't you get in there and you work on 3 punchlines right now? You get upstairs and you work on another
I want
avenue.
Alton. I want you to try and beat it.
Beat the joke. Tag it. Get upstairs.
You
now.
guys, you guys talk about this stuff, and all I keep thinking is about when you're 14. I mean, and even now, and everything in between. Because I saw your roast and I saw these things. You're like, will you let me talk? And
Yes,
I
yes,
really
yes.
got a kick out of that. But I'm thinking, it's got to kill you that you're coming up with a joke. And when he says, yeah, that's not funny. Do you guys
No,
have?
that's great. Don't you think that's wonderful that you
Oh,
have
yeah.
a voice or someone who
built-in.
isn't you who's like, no, we can't do that, and then you got to defend it as to whether or not it belongs there. And
Fight for it.
Fight for it. Prove the other person wrong. But that if you're out there and you fought for something and then it dies on the vine a couple more times, it's gone, and you have to live
So
with
you're
that.
like, fuck, try it. I don't care. Try
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, but you can't tank it. This isn't you aren't like the Carolina Panthers. You can't just tank it in hopes of a good draft pick the next joke you come up with. But, I mean, we just we're huge fans of comedy, would do it in front of our parents' friends and our friends. We were funny amongst our friends. Like I remember one time in 7th grade, we were playing, or 8th grade I was playing Spin the Bottle, and I spun it and got to this, and it spun and it landed on the girl who's probably like the fastest girl of our, she definitely French.
You a great big fast girl.
She was a great big fast person. No, this was 6th grade maybe. She had already kissed a 7th grade. I mean, it was
man.
way
She was
ahead.
both fast and furious.
Exactly.
Part 9.
So we go into the bathroom to hook up, and I'm not ready for this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. And I don't think she wanted to do it either. So we stay in the bathroom for a little while, and we're not. And I was like, I got to think of something funny to do. Because there's people out there that think of something funny to do. And so I flushed the toilet. And I was like, that's fun. If they're out there and listening to that, they're like, what is happening in there? Who went to the bathroom? And I thought this is fun. And in that moment, I'm like, okay, comedy. I mean, when I was in 8th grade, and I've told this story before, but I had a terrible home economics teacher. The worst, Mrs. Frank.
You both had him.
No, just me.
You avoided her, but I avoided her.
Oh.
I knew how
She was
bad
awful and mean and didn't want to be a teacher and shouldn't have been there. And
She hated
I didn't like
kids.
home economics, and she knew it, and we just were going to. So Halloween. So I'd been now at school for 2 months. Halloween rolls around. She comes to school wearing like a gorilla mask and her outfit. She wears it for tries to wear it for the entire class. She wears it for 2/3 of the class. It's hot. It's a gorilla mask. She pulls off the gorilla mask, and I screamed when she pulled it off.
So there,
That's a good bit for
Solid
an 8th
joke.
grade kid to.
Come on.
if I was in the back, I would have been like, yes.
Randy,
I will-
out in the hall.
So
You
I
got
go out in
straight
the
to the
hall
principal.
and I go to the principal's office and they call my dad and I explained everything that I did, and my dad was like, "That's funny."
That's a good
pretty
bit.
good.
So
That's a
he
good
didn't even
bit.
get mad at me, and I was like, okay, this person is not nice, and this is a way to handle it. I wish we could have figured out a way at that time to take that which we did on stage, which was a mixture of comedy, other comedians' comedy
Yeah.
that we liked, which is a no-no, and then some of the stuff that we wrote ourselves. So the craziest story, because it involves L.A., we lived in St. Louis. Nobody in our family did comedy.
Right.
Nobody was even an
were you
actor.
anyone actors
No,
in your
not
life?
a
So
one of-
you forged your path. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys.
Introverted, not
My
performers.
mom was, she did repertory theater.
Well, then that's a basis for at least a love of that
I mean,
stuff.
Yeah, she was on a lot of medication, and that kind of was a
Issue.
no. That helped me.
It helped you.
That it gave me. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I got to take chances.
Right.
Take risks.
Well, that's fair.
Your
and-
mom constantly thought she was in a theater in the round. You're like, no, it's not. Mom. That's
Yeah.
on a lot of
Turning around
stuff.
to the
Yeah.
audience
kitchen
behind her.
That's our kitchen.
Hello. All right, Mom. We're over here. So
Life is a one-woman show, Michael.
Take a bite. What does that mean?
it means eat your dinner. Where were we, Rand?
Just that we had.
Oh yeah, this is crazy. So we performed and we did stand up on this show, our first time ever and it went well. I think
it was
went
like
pretty well.
we were like, okay, we love comedy. You guys just don't get it. It's like the way I am with people who don't go to Burning Man. I'm like, you just don't get it. I mean, I was there, you weren't there. You just-
I went there.
You'll never understand. You went.
I
So
understand.
you get it.
He
You
gets
get
it.
it.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Sullivan,
Because
You
you
weren't there.
You don't get it, Sullivan.
You just don't know.
You haven't.
I keep trying to get
a
it.
misinformed idea of what it is.
I did not want to go. I'm just going to throw this and finish. your
Neither
story
did
after.
he.
I just want to say this: Harlan Williams got me to go.
He did?
Yeah, he's one of my best. And he goes,
Love him.
he
Just
goes,
had him on the pod.
Oh, dude, he's
Love
the
him.
nice, one of my
sweetest.
besties in the world. And he goes, my dog just went blind.
It's
And
like,
we were
hey, buddy.
Yeah,
Hey,
well, my
partner.
dog went blind. Then I go, dude, I can't go. My dog's blind. He's like, hey, buddy,
Hey, Chief, let's go, man. You come with me, man.
I think this is going to be a chance for you, bud.
Yeah.
I think this is an opportunity. Herb might be blind, but maybe this will open your eyes to new things.
Come on.
You know, I used to be a
It
lumberjack.
did.
Now. It does.
It did.
So we can go on that in another direction.
With the help
but
of Molly's. But yes, go on.
Right.
Hey.
But the point is, we felt that way about comedy
Right.
because here we are in St. Louis, and we knew everybody's act word for word in these things, and people would ask us, and we would just fire
I mean,
it up.
there was a joke, Kenny Rogerson's joke,
It's not Kenny Rogers.
I'm sorry. It was
Barry Crimmins.
Barry
You
Crimmins'
made the
joke.
mistake of...
We originally thought it was Kenny Rogerson's, but it was Barry Crimmins'
For
joke.
years, then we met Barry Crimmins, then he passed away last year, but he was an amazing guy.
We got to tell him how much we love this joke. A small joke it was like an HBO kind of like showcase.
Two
show.
directions this joke went.
He said, I recently got arrested in Kentucky
For trying to smuggle
in books. All right, already a hilarious
Great
joke. That's a great joke. Solid.
So you're like, that's good, right? But then he's like, but I got off on a technicality because nobody could actually prove that they were books.
Amazing.
Great.
1-2 punch. When we
And
heard
at
that.
14, you delivered this joke.
No, so like,
Loved it.
when people are at like 14, they're looking at,
I love it.
Like somebody else, I forgot who did this joke. It was the funniest joke ever. He was like, I kid God. Cause,
No, it was Richard Belzer.
Who's that?
He was hosting a show. I kid God
because God has a good sense of...
grabs his chest and goes down. Literally falls all the way down. The physical bit of that, the fun of that bit.
kid God.
And in his mind, like this, even as kids, we got how fun that was for him to do because
I kid God because God has a really good sense of...
Hey!
Now, did you both fall down?
Yes! And we thought, it's so funny. It's so dumb. So like
You're
we both,
14. That's just
it's the funniest thing in the world. And we even got at that time.
That's another layer of a 14-year-old having a heart attack.
So funny. Yeah. So
My
we
ticker's
understood why
going
that
out.
was funny. And then we would do that in front of people. And in the way we were channeling these great minds who, now that we've created comedy and creative TV and created movie and that stuff, we understand what it takes to do that. And we were just borrowing it and throwing it out there. And so we certainly couldn't take claim to it, but we were doing it well.
Yeah.
And we understood why it was funny. And then we wrote our own stuff.
In Love is brought to you by the Smile Direct Club. This is our only sponsor.
Yeah, they make this podcast possible. They're paying our bills and making it
Absolutely.
free to anyone who wants to listen.
And, I noticed this. I'm not, I love product. I love when it's like a good product I'm excited about.
Yeah.
But, you think things through, and I could tell right away.
They've thought of everything.
They have, and I could tell genuinely, like, I like this. I like this product.
From the get-go, we went into the Smile
Direct Club store.
The Smile Direct
Beverly
Club
Hills.
store in Beverly Hills,
There's
and
one
they did a 3D scan of both of our mouths.
Yeah.
And we told them things that we wanted changed with
Things
our teeth.
that we were uncomfortable about.
Yeah,
like,
a couple of crooked teeth.
Yeah, you have like an overbite, is it?
Yeah, I got a little bit of an underbite and a
Underbite.
couple of teeth that have fallen back since my first attempt at straightening my smile back when I was a teenager.
How was that process?
It was pretty painful. Lots of metal, lots of cut lips and gums.
Lots
and,
of X-rays, putting that shit, those little, like, I don't know what they're,
Yeah.
guitar picks they put in your mouth.
Yeah.
It hurts your gums and you bleed and shit.
Exactly. So they just did a 3D scan, and then they showed us a computer-generated video of
What our teeth would look like.
what our smiles would look like after however many months it's going to take.
You know what I thought after I saw those pictures? Hollywood.
And you're
My
welcome
teeth-
to Hollywood. And so
Yeah.
finally, what we're hoping is that we get the smiles we want so that we can make it in Hollywood.
That's absolutely right. We want to do that. But you know what? Everybody deserves a good grill. I call it a grill. You need a good smile.
Yeah.
And if you're uncomfortable, you're like always like covering your laughter, covering your mouth. When people see people do that, it makes me sad because laughter is like, man, the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I have a friend who was told that his smile was goofy when he was a kid, and so he doesn't do it anymore.
I had fangs, dude.
And so that type of deep sadness, like you should be able to smile and present your happiness and your joy to the world, and Smile Direct Club is going to help you do that. Smile Direct Club makes it easier than ever to straighten your smile without brackets, wires, or monthly office visits. None of that funny business.
Visit SmileDirectClub.com to book a free visit, 3D image like Chris and I at one of their smile shops, or have an impression kit mailed to you.
They'll email you a preview of your new smile.
Yeah, how about that? Once you get those aligners, one of the Smile Direct Club's duly licensed dentist or orthodontist will check in on your progress every 90 days. It's so easy.
Yeah, you just look them up and find out what more than 600,000 people are smiling about. Join the club and get back to cracking jokes and sharing your smile with the world.
As one of our listeners, you'll get $100 off your aligners. So go to SmileDirectClub.com/podcast and use the offer code INLOVE.
Do not wait any longer to get the smile you deserve. Use this exclusive offer to get $100 off at SmileDirectClub.com/podcast. What's that code, Michael?
In love.
SmileDirectClub.com/podcast. Offer code?
In love. Do you think you were always trying to be like outsmart? Like you go, we have to be as smart as possible with your comedy. Did you ever think like more blue collar? Like, let's do this. Did one of you want to go a different way and the other one to be Letterman, the other one to be Leno?
That's a great point.
It's
It's a great question. Because I do think there are two types of comedians. There's two types of comedy that's being done. There are comedians who go on stage and I want to get the most laughs possible. I want to destroy the
Which is fine, right?
Obliterate this room. Fine.
Great. Good.
Then there's other comedians who are like, I want to do the funniest thing possible.
You hope the twain shall meet.
I hope those two roads are right next to each other and they become one road.
Sure.
But sometimes they don't. But I'm still going to do the funniest thing I can possibly do. We were always drawn to that person who was trying to do the funniest thing. I remember Andy Kindler, that's a comedian who's still out here, still doing it, so funny, was such an influence to us. He was so funny. He had a bit, this was an old joke that he did that we make him do every time we see him, which was he had a joke about a crock pot. Great joke. He said, crock pot, that's a great item if I'm hungry in 18 hours. He leans forward. Great joke. It's like, I need some crackers, okay?
Where are the crackers?
Where are the crackers? And he does this. And then his joke is 8 years of mime school and I still open the cabinet door into my face. Okay, so he's joking on the physicality.
I'm trying not to laugh.
It's
funny.
so good. And we understood. So that joke we heard when we were 19. So stepped on stage when we were 14 and we did it as if to say, this is what it was almost like this is what we love.
It's like coming out.
This is who we are, and this is what we love.
It was like
Listen,
like
comedy-
a coming out.
Sure. Well, comedy's one of those more bizarre art forms in that, like, when I picked up a guitar, I didn't write a song. I picked my favorite song
And played it.
and I learned how to play it, and I played it for other people. And they go, wow, you play that song really well.
Kaja Gugu, Too Shy Shy, was it?
Same exact song.
That's what I
You
thought.
did
Yeah,
the same one?
Nick Kershaw, wouldn't it be good?
Oh, I like
and
that song.
I mean,
Bad verses,
once,
great chorus.
Once you know the difference, I mean, there's no judgment involved.
But doesn't it put a lot of pressure on yourself to go, I want to be the funniest every day? Because I am a perfectionist in a lot of ways, and I'm getting rid of that because that's not working because it's death. It's killing you.
totally death.
When you're just so stressed out, I gotta be this, I gotta be this. Hey, let's go out and give this audience who's paying a good time and not kill ourselves if tonight isn't great, or how hard are you on yourself?
It's a very subtle attitudinal shift, and we're still learning. I mean, we've been doing it for so long. We'll eventually go back to the story because it is crazy what happened and why.
No, but address what he just said because
So it's almost, if you're a sports fan, you have to take what the defense gives you. You have to go up to the line and say, what's going on in this room right here? And when we do the Comedy Store, which is right now, the Comedy Store in LA, the Comedy Cellar in New York are like the two spots. Not that the Improv isn't good or the Laugh Factory. We love performing at both those places. The Comedy Store and the Cellar in New York are the places in the comedy. And in LA at the store, it's even harder because they do tag team, which means there is no host. So you will step on stage after Bill Burr, after
No introduction.
Sebastian, no
David,
host.
they introduce you.
David Spade, after Chris D'Elia, all these guys who Joey Diaz,
Joe Rogan.
You're gonna step on stage, Jeff Ross, right after these people. Guys who on the road are people who pay $60 to go see them at a theater, who pay on the road, who are never to be followed. They say goodnight
Headliners.
and then the show is over.
Yeah.
And so they're getting on stage, and then you have to step on after them and create your own space. You only have 15 minutes, and you got to do that. And we've just this year we learned something within stand-up, and we said we have to develop a bit at the top of our set that just wipes the slate clean. That is a bit that is very much us. That is our stuff. A transition, so that this audience can forget about what they just saw and get into what they're about to see. But Kirk Fox, who's a great comedian,
Kirk.
love him.
He's helped me with a couple
said
of jokes.
his attitude is like, you go in there and be like, oh man, this is gonna be hard. This happened to us. So our buddy Neil Brennan was on stage. He created the Chappelle Show, and we're backstage not backstage, but like at the back of the room outside in the hallway outside the original room in the Comedy Store. And in walks Chappelle, who we love and have known from New York from our days starting in the 90s. We're like, I hope he doesn't go on stage, because if he goes on stage we're next, we're next. And so he heads to the main room, and we're like, breathe a sigh of relief. All right, so he's going to go in there. and Neil's starting to wrap it up. Neil gets the light, the blue star goes on the right, and he's got to wrap it up in 2 minutes.
And we're like, great, here we go.
We dodged that bullet. We're going to get on stage right
and
now.
all of a sudden, Chappelle out of nowhere swoops up on stage and then just starts doing like the most amazing off the cuff present comedy
For an hour.
So he does it for a half hour. Now it's getting later. We're like,
We got there at 10.
and we're supposed to go on at 10:30. It is now like 11, and we're like, okay, what do we do here? Okay, this is a challenge. Let's take this as a challenge. We have to step on stage after this. Why are we even in this business if we can't step on the stage? Why are we even thinking that this is going to be impossible for us? Nothing is impossible.
Are you guys having this conversation?
Yes, we're staying on
And
stage.
I'm nervous here because I was doing it for a year, and it makes me just thinking about this.
So all the guys after us, are you guys going to go? We're like, we'll see.
We'll see. I think so. 15 more minutes. It's now 45 minutes. Then it's an hour. Now it's like,
And Neil's on stage still, and they're just talking to each other now.
now it's like a podcast happening on stage, and we're literally like,
And
what
it's
are-
hilarious. It's so fascinating, and the room
Yeah.
is packed.
Sure.
The room is so
like
wall to wall.
more people are in, and the second he gets up, everybody's going to leave. It's just going to be a mess.
Yeah.
And we say to ourselves, okay, this is why we're in comedy. We're lucky enough to be here. Our names are on the marquee for tonight's show. We have to go up there and be professionals and go up and
Right.
do our thing.
Right.
You want to get the ball.
There are
after that.
people who showed up to see
Yeah.
you.
There
People
are.
are there, yeah.
As far as we know. And so 45 minutes becomes an hour.
Then
An hour
it
becomes an
an
hour
hour
and
and a-
15.
An hour and a half. An
what
hour.
time is it?
It is now 5 to midnight. Okay, we were supposed to go on at 10:30. We're like, okay, it's not fair to the people behind us. Like
Yeah.
a bunch of people should just not go, and then because he could be on stage for another hour,
Yeah.
we don't even know. So we walk over. Jay walks over to the front and says, "Hey,
The piano player, the guy who everyone asks who's next.
Yeah.
Jeff. And I say, Jeff, it's midnight, and
we don't want to do that to the people behind us.
We're gonna
This
go.
is not going to be worthwhile for us. We got to get out of here." So in your brain, you're already driving down Sunset to leave.
and feeling dejected. And because we have kids, we don't go out and do stand up every
Right.
night of the week. We kind of
Right.
set this night out. This was special for us. We wanted to get the work in. We just wanted to do it. As we're walking to the steps, they are like, okay, that's it. We're done.
Who's next?
So now we're still in the room, and Jeff looks at us, and we're like, I guess we'll go. And so Jeff's like, the Sklar brothers, and Neil's like, great. Dave's already off stage and walking towards us.
He stops and is like, nope, hang
Hold
on a second. Goes back up and is like, I love these guys. I mean, he's like, I came up with them in New York. We're like, let's not talk about
Maybe
how
we don't
came
focus on how we started
same
off
time because
together,
you're up
you're all
here
the
and
way
we're-
up.
Let's leave that aside. And he's like, gives us the nice, he's like, you want to stay for this. Like,
Don't leave.
Don't leave. You want to stay for these guys are so funny. That gives a really nice intro and brings us up on
We
stage.
come on stage. We're like, I don't want to say Dave Chappelle was on stage very long. I tucked my daughter in tonight, and she was 5. She's going to college now.
I was like, Dave, you guys were on stage for so long. As I was coming up to stage, someone handed me the new iPhone. That's how long we were waiting for you to get off.
I mean, it was just all gags and jokes. Those jokes gave that little reset. Let Dave walk out of the room.
And then we
People
did it, and
stayed,
we walked
did a
out of
set.
there being like, we had a meeting the next day. We had a pitch meeting the next day at TBS, and we were like, we walked in there, and that was what we told that story right before we walked in. And we walked in that meeting saying, there's nothing we can't do
You
now.
can't, yeah.
There's nothing we can do. So I love that comedy gives us that. To go all the way back to that first thing, we got a videotape of our performance and
Our first performance
and
ever.
it's funny because like there are some building blocks of what we do today. We never even discussed, hey, should you just go on stage and then I'll come up, or maybe I'll come up. We were just like, nope, we both love comedy and we're both going to stand up there and we're not even going to think about how we're going to do it. We're just going to do it. And it was fine. I mean, we delivered other people's comedy well. We wrote our own bit that we closed with. I was really proud of that we did that, had the videotape. Then a friend of ours in Kansas City, because we were in Jewish youth groups, was like, and we knew him from this Jewish youth group, from BBYO, B'nai B'rith Youth Organization. He said he was doing comedy sports. He was a year older than us. He was 15, we were 14. And he said, we just heard this thing at the club at Comedy Sports that there's a young comedian special under the age of 16 that the Disney Channel, the newly formed Disney Channel in 1986 wants to do. And do you guys have any videotape of you guys doing stand-up? We're like, funny, you should say
matter
that.
of fact,
We do. So we sent it off, made a copy for the guy who copied our
the guy who made our bar mitzvah tape. We said, because we
Hooked-
didn't know anyone who could
Hooked
dub a tape.
two VCRs
Together, played it out, and recorded it off of the TV that was.
He had a system that could do it, and we sent it off to Rubin and Core, okay, production company on
Beverly Boulevard here, like probably somewhere around La Brea. I don't even remember the thing. I think I have the letter still at home.
Wow.
So we sent it to them thinking this is like throwing something in the ocean that you'll never, ever see again. And it was
we had nothing to lose.
We had nothing to lose. It was a show that was going to be hosted by Mark Price, who played Skippy on Family Ties. Did you ever know him?
Of course.
Okay, so he did some stand-up, and like Bob Saget, he was like way dirtier as a stand-up than he was on the he kind of was like this dumb kid on the show, but then he, of course, was like a way dirtier stand-up.
Yeah.
Very gimmicky, like when Screech did comedy type of thing. But he was going to host all of these, and that's what it was on the Disney Channel, young comedian special. So we sent it off, and we think, man, whatever. At least we did it, and we sent it out there. I'm not going to hear anything. 2 months later, we get a phone call from... It was late. It was at nighttime, and because they're LA, it's probably like we're 2 hours ahead. It was probably like 7. It was 5 o'clock their time, and we're eating dinner, and we get a phone call, and we answer. It's them, because it was a time when you didn't know who was calling. It was like roulette. Like, who's calling us? Could be a telemarketer. Could be our cousin, and it's these guys, and they proceed to tell us that they got our tape. They watched hundreds of tapes from people, and they thought ours was one of the best that they had seen. They're like, you can't steal other people's material, obviously. You have to write all your own. There was some original in there, but you got to do some other stuff. So go up to your local comedy club. Oh, and here's like a bunch of notes of things you guys should work on. Like, you guys should work on how you relate to each other on stage versus how you... They gave us a litany of notes that it would take us years and years
Good
and years
notes?
to figure out.
Pretty good.
Some were good, some were not. But like... They said, go up to...
What about scarves?
What about SARS? We're like, that will be a disease in a few years. Can you guys... And so they said, can you go up to your local comedy club and do
You
it?
be the SARS brothers, and you come on using
Wear
surgical
masks. Our comedy is contagious.
God.
Catch it. So we called the local comedy club, and they're like, no, how old are you? 14, 15? No, you 15 years. You're not... We don't run a bar here. There's alcohol. No. So we called them back, and we said, they said no. And they were like, hang on a second. They called the what's the club? They call them up, and they're like, you have a spot on Tuesday at like 8. So we suddenly had this time to go perform in front of adults.
Mickey Mouse called the club.
So we had to write all this new material. I mean, or material that we had been working on, and it was very hard, and we were not good, but we did it, and it was different than the time we did it before, which was a learning experience in and of itself. And we sent it up.
How do you deal with the bombing? You guys ever go up together and bomb?
Yes.
So that was my exact same question.
Yeah, well, we're doing this now. We're starting to.
We're
not the twins.
We are
here.
we're
not the Sklar brothers.
You guys are mind melding.
Because we've both experienced a bomb. I've bombed on stage before. It is harrowing.
What was your bomb?
One of my first jobs in acting, I did a one-man show called Defending the Caveman. I don't know if we ever talked about that. So,
Rob Becker.
So it was this comedian from the first comedy
very
boom,
loose.
who wrote this one-man show.
Big air quotes. Yeah. Stop. Just
That's his first
joking.
gig. Why are you ripping on him?
Listen. The comedy was broad, but it was also, and for that reason, it connected with a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it was a successful
huge Broadway show?
huge successful Broadway show, one-man show.
Right.
But there were nights where I'd go out on stage and not a titter for 20 minutes, and wonder, okay, well now I have
Did you blame yourself?
an hour to go.
But why wouldn't you blame the material and not yourself in that case?
Because the material
was already a
works.
success.
And it works, and it could definitely be the audience. The last thing I will do is blame the audience, but there's all kinds of ways. I could be rushing, I could be yelling, I could be not giving a shit,
or not
I could be
likable.
I could be
Right.
not
Kidding.
likable.
Okay.
No.
But
like to be alone and bomb is one thing, but what is it like to bomb?
Before you answer that, I
Together.
got to stay on what you just said. When you're up there, because I know how I feel, and I want to hear what you guys say.
Sure. Yeah, I want to hear.
There's a feeling you get when things aren't working and it's going downhill. Heel.
When it's going downhill.
But I want to know, can you explain that feeling when you're on stage a minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes of just how are you feeling inside? Are you getting foggy? Can you remember your shit? Are you nervous? Are you feel shame? Do you get tingly? Do you feel like you're going, oh my God, I can't do this. What's going on?
I mean, there's fight, flight, and freeze, right?
Right.
So I would go through all of those things where I would kind of get a fuck you attitude. Like I know these jokes work.
Right.
They've worked on thousands of people before you.
Right.
And that's definitely not going to make someone laugh.
Nope.
Then I've wanted to run, so I'll start speeding through shit and let's just get through this. And that's not going to work. And it took me a long, because I did like 1,000 performances over 4 years or whatever of this material. And so I just finally had to realize that I had to really get present. Like to really
sit in it,
get in the moment, and
Sit
just
in it.
feel it.
Sit in it.
Let it be what it is.
Let it be for you at least. Like I'm in this, and it's so hard. How do you guys feel?
I mean, you've got another person up there going through it. So the first reaction sometimes is to blame the other person. Like the last physical fight we ever got in was over a set of comedy.
Oh wow!
In New York City.
Well, keep going.
We were on the Upper East Side. This is when we would do like 6 sets of comedy in a night. We'd do the comic strip at like 8:10, and then we'd be down at Gotham at 9:15, then back up at Stand Up New York at 10:15, then back at the strip, then back at Gotham. It was like a loop.
Wow.
And so we would do a bunch of sets, and we did a set one night up at the comic strip, and the crowd just was not into it, and we were having trouble, and they were talking. And I mean, comedy, we say, is like summiting Mount Everest, right? All the conditions could be perfect, and you can still die.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with comedy. Like, one wisp of a cloud. These people over here, you mentioned one thing that someone mentioned 3 comics before you, but you didn't realize it, and they did a harsher, better, deeper version of it, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work, and then you start questioning your stuff. You start going to this thing. These people were talking. We got out. It was a horrible show. People on my side were talking, very chatty. Couldn't really control them. We get out. We get into the cab. We have to go do another set of comedy right now. We're arguing with each other. This guy wants to know where to go. We tell him where we're going, and he's like, this poor guy who probably was still trying to get the medallion, needs every single fare in his cab.
Where are we going?
Right. We're like, hey, look, can you give me a second? Ray's like, handle your business.
I need an address.
I know, but he's like, handle your business.
Handle your business.
I'm like,
We'll
my
get right to
business.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
my business
Yeah.
is
Handle
people
it. Yeah.
just hanging out.
You couldn't
and
handle
talking.
it. You couldn't
but
handle
I
it.
didn't bring those assholes in here.
Yeah, but you couldn't
It's the
handle
biggest
it.
fight. We start punching each other in the back of the cab.
cab
In the face?
Punch in the face. We have rules when we would hit
that's
each
the meal
other.
ticket.
But like he pulled over
Hard punches.
hard punches in the meaty part of the back.
No
between-
punching in the face.
Between the shoulder blade and the arm, there's a meaty part of
But
the
you
back.
could
where you
just
can
How many
fall off.
punches?
So many. And then he pulled over. It'd be
and
like 5 from me, and then 4 from him, and then.
Oh,
5
you let
from
him
me.
hit you. Like you wouldn't keep going like a real fight.
I
but
get
you
tired after a bunch, but so.
Come on, keep going on
He
this.
pulls over to in Central Park. Central Park pulls over and lets us out. Like, get out. We're like, it's Central Park. We got to go to the. He's like, get the fuck out of this cab. We're like, you need this money, don't you? And he's like, not that bad. Pushes us or gets us out of the cab, drives away. We're in dark Central Park at night. We're nowhere near our next gig. We've just fought with each other. We felt like idiots. We were humiliated there.
It was a great.
Well, how do you make up from that? How do you pick it up?
You just have to move on.
Well,
did
how
you go do
fast
the
did
next
you move
set?
on? That night
did.
you walked home together.
We
No, we
walked
gotta
out
go-
of the park, grabbed the first cab, and got down to the next show, and the next show was better. It was almost like that fight. And for us, this is, I think, why we are able to stay together is we vomit it out when we're really angry and push it out really quick and then get rid of it.
Can you fist fight still?
No, I never
No,
will.
That's over?
Now,
when you're
they
a
have kids.
parent.
Once you have kids,
Who
you're
was
like,
the
I don't
first
have the
punch?
energy.
Who was the first puncher?
I can't remember. I was going in hard on him. I'm sure
We were
he
both
hit me.
hitting
So
hard.
you guys developed this relationship, obviously, not only brothers,
Mm-hmm.
twin brothers who work together.
Yeah.
Twin brothers who work together in the arts, which involves a lot of emotion and
and you
kind
have
of
no control over that whatsoever.
and so now you're getting married. How does a woman
I mean,
Deal with you guys.
come into this relationship?
It's hard.
because
It's a lot.
they have to be a part.
Because
of,
if you have a family, and now we have families, we have kids,
Right.
So, but our what we do is like a child. Like our career, our act is a child that needs to be cared for and nurtured every
You
single
need
day.
someone who makes you feel safe, who makes you is supportive. That,
Yeah,
you
and
both
I mean-
have that.
I do. Yeah, I mean, I think.
What if you
I
didn't?
do. Yeah, no, we do. We do.
Well,
but they're different. We do, but it's different and it's fluid. Like sometimes people can be great and
Sure.
super supportive,
Sure.
and sometimes they can't because they're human.
Sure.
And it's hard, and this life is hard. And a lot of times you ask, when you're the artist and when you're trying to do some things, you have to do things that don't where you don't have an outcome tied to it that is like a tangible benefit for the other people.
Sure.
But it's something you just have to do. You're like, if I have to do this thing because it means something in the larger sense that I can't explain to you why. It's just a thing that we have to do, and it's special.
It's
and
good
it
for my own mental health.
good for the mental health, our presence in this business, good for us as artists, good for us as creators. This challenge is important to us. You know, person on the other side's like, well, they don't see any part of that. All they see is like, well, I got to put these kids to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
And I had to do it again the other night, and no one's sleeping well, and everyone's angry. And so that, there's real stuff on both sides.
Do both of them think you're funny? You're each funny? Or does your wife say, I don't think Jason's that funny?
No,
She says, Randy's not that funny.
No. My wife used to do comedy years ago, and then now and doesn't do it anymore. But she loves it. Like, put it this way: we are working on a project that a scripted idea that we just sold to CBS, and we worked so hard the last 3 days to write this story area. We wrote it out super long, and it basically was an outline, and then we're like, wait, we got to cut this way down. So our concern was, we wrote it long and it's really funny, but if we now cut this down to 3 pages, is it not going to be funny? I have to read this out loud to someone in order to think it's funny.
Sure.
So I read it out loud to my wife, and she laughed super hard, and I was loving it, and I was like, yeah, you get it, this is good, and this is spurring me on and making me feel good about it, because no matter what happens, that little moment happened.
Like, your wife loves it, and that's really what matters. In a way, I mean, it's like, but by the way, go back to because all these thoughts were racing. You're telling me the story about you guys falling apart and then going at it in the car, and it was just such a great story. All I can think about when you're on stage, then and now, when someone else is fucking up and they know they're fucking up, and back then you probably were like, dude, you're fucking it up. Is it now more of like, dude, it's fine, it's okay, you did it? Are you guys more hard on
There's
yourself?
a moment of like, so now there's more attached to, like he was saying before, we try and stack our spots in one night. So if we know we're doing a podcast at UCB live Thursday, we then call the Improv and say, hey, okay, put us on a late show.
Right.
Or we call the Comedy Store on Monday, something we never take for granted, because we know there are so many people who wish they could get spots.
Right.
And we are like, they ask us, when do you guys want to go up this week? Tuesday, late at like 10-ish, anywhere in there. If you can fit us in, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that, and then we'll go to the Improv, and then we'll go here, get it all in one night. And so you do like 4 nights worth of work on one night. So if we go and someone's tired, someone shows up late, there's an issue, whatever, then it's like, hey, we worked so hard to get these things here. What are you doing? Like, you got to get snapped to it. It's like in the Michael Rappaport Q-Tip, Tribe Called Quest, when like he's mad at Fife because Fife's like blood sugar's low, and a lot of people are really mad at Q-Tip, and I'm like, if you've ever been in a duo, and if you've ever been a part of something, Q-Tip's like, I'm not mad at you because you have diabetes. I'm mad at you because you didn't give a shit enough about this relationship to take care of yourself.
Right.
Like, we're going on stage and you need to do this. And so that relationship, which I think was misread by the public as people who are in it really deep, it's like, take care of it.
Right.
This is important. You better be up. I don't care what happened.
Be there 5-10 minutes early so we can figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking pressure.
It is.
It's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure to put on yourselves, because with this new podcast, In Love with Michael Rosenbaum, Chris Sullivan,
right.
We're like, how are you grateful? I said this morning, I'm very grateful for you, my man. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Whatever. And we text each other. And so you think it's like, hey man, something's important. You're like, dude, I get it. But there's also that competitive, we've got to be great. So there's that dichotomy of like, you love your brother, but dude, you're fucking me right now.
Right.
Right. I mean, the good news is that we both have a very similar attitude towards what we want to get out
So you
of
don't get
this thing.
intimidated by it.
No, it's like,
It's more of like, good, I need that.
it's a challenge, and we'll step up. And truthfully, it doesn't happen very often where
Right.
one is like really slacking off. It is, we try and pick each other up. We try and allow each other, hey, I'll do the work here because I know you got to be with your kids and you got to do that.
Yeah.
I'll take care of this on this day, because there is no, when you're in a partnership and you're in a team or in a marriage, there should never, ever, ever be I did this and
No.
Yeah.
I remember being in therapy and talking to my therapist about it. And I was like, how do you divide up the stuff if you're in a working
Sure.
partnership?
Sure.
And she's like, you have to do what you think is 100% of the work all the time, and your partner has to do what he or she thinks is 100% of the time. I'm like, it's not 50-50. And she's
Right.
like, no, it's 100-100.
Yeah.
You each have to feel like you're doing all the work and not resent and assume that
Right.
the other person feels the same way, because that's the only way it gets done. We're lucky.
So
one of the things I do is in the morning, my wife is a really good cook and she can make dinner way better than me. And so for our family, our lives are better when she cooks dinner versus when I do it. Okay. But I can take care of a lot of stuff in the morning. Now, our lives, a lot of them are at night. If you're working on a TV show and it ends at late, you come home super late at night. If we're out doing Largo last night, we didn't come home until 12:30 at night. And I came home and I needed to like come down before every morning, I get up and handle everything in the morning. And there's a moment where my alarm goes off. My wife is still asleep. I'm like, you went to bed at 10 last night. I got rolled in at 1 and I am tired.
Yeah.
I only got 5 hours. This is not healthy. This is not good. And that thought goes into my head and then that thought goes out of my head because I'm like, this is what we got to do.
Yeah.
She's like, don't unload the dishes from the sink today. Just don't. She's telling me as I'm getting out of bed this morning. She knows I had a rough night.
Yeah.
Or not rough night, but just the amount of sleep was not. Yeah. And I got home late. And I went downstairs and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And when she comes downstairs, it's going to be done and that's it. And that literally, you got to have that attitude. We have to have that attitude with each other for what we do.
Yeah, we don't tally up who came up. We don't look at the latest comedy album and be like, I wrote this one, I wrote this one, I wrote this one, I wrote this one. I mean, I do it, but I don't tell him.
Oh,
Sure.
stop it.
No, but
I get those texts.
we can't do. I send
Hey,
them
when
to
you're
Chris.
listening to the new record, just
This
so you know,
joke,
just
this
so you
bit,
know.
this Sully knows. It doesn't matter. It really is whoever can.
What about being grateful? Do you ever feel like you're so consumed with work and everything else that you're just like, I'm forgetting about the important things, or do you really have you learned that you just got to make time for the important things and be grateful and be happy?
I mean, I'm always grateful. I've now, to this point, especially for friends and friendships, like I am the person who, after we go over to someone's house, before the night is over, I send them a text being like, thank you for you, thank you for this, because this is more important than anything else. We've been around a lot of really famous, really wealthy, really successful people. You just are around them. Athletes, actors, I mean, just politicians. Like we've just been lucky enough to be around all that stuff. There are a lot of unhappy people who, if they just would have the friends that you have who care about you enough to want to hang out and have a evening dinner with you or this or that or go out and do this.
Flanagan at Largo.
Yeah.
Randy and I both unknowingly sent him the exact same text on a chain last night. I'm just gonna read you this. This is after the show we did at Largo.
Flanagan that I know?
Mark Flanagan.
Tommy.
No, not Tommy Flanagan.
Tommy.
Mark
Flanagan, who runs Largo and the owner of Largo. I mean, when we moved to LA in 1999 and we were coming to LA from New York in 98 and 99, we started to do Largo. And then we moved here in 99. We did the Monday night Largo show, which was incredible.
So on the same chain.
Yeah.
Probably didn't read mine before yours.
I never
wrote,
read yours.
Thanks for having us tonight. I loved it so much. Like I felt like that's me.
Right.
I have to express this gratitude to this person,
And you feel it.
and I felt
100%.
it. And I was
That's
like,
it.
I have to let this person know that this is not just a person who runs a club that we love being at. This is a friend and a friendship we've had for over 23, 24 years. He wrote, what a fun show. And then Randy said, loved it so much. Thank you, Flanny, for having us. So I said, thanks for having us tonight. Loved it so much. He wrote, loved it so much. Thank you for having us. On that same chain. And then Flanagan wrote back to us, I think because we opened it up, and I think it's okay if I share this. He said, always love having you guys in my life. Okay.
So that has nothing to do with the show.
That's not saying we sold this many tickets. That's not saying there were this many laughs in the crowd. That's not saying this guy saw
That's
the
just
show.
love.
That is
Respect.
three
Love.
adults.
So Pete Yorn was playing on our show last night, and that his first album in 2001, Music from the Morning After, was, and I said this on stage last night, the soundtrack for the beginnings of the 29-year-old Randy and Jason who came to
LA.
LA.
To me, that album was Los Angeles.
What album is it?
It's Music for the Morning After. It's all one word.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like
remember it.
Strange Condition and
Life on a Chain.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, these
It's
are
amazing.
anthems.
It's
So he's playing.
Was that his debut album?
Yeah,
That was
it
the
was.
one that hit so big. It was like every song was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so did he do Strange Condition last night?
No,
Is
he
that-
did Life on a Chain.
So he did Life on a Chain first, and he's playing it at our thing. And again, this for us was, we didn't know Pete Yorn in 2001. We had been doing stuff. We were known nationally, but we didn't know him. And I never saw him even at the old Largo play, but he's playing that song, and I'm thinking and I close my eyes and I'm thinking of the 29-year-old me and what that would be like, almost 20 years from now to just be in a thing where we asked him to be a part of our show, and he does it. So he does that song, and then he took the time to learn our podcast theme song and did a Yorny version of that.
Wow.
So I walk to the back. I see Flanagan, and he's like around the other side by himself, and he's just bopping his head to the thing. And I walk over and I talk about gratitude, and I go and I give him a huge hug. And it's a hug of, hey, dude, I didn't say this to him, but he was at my wedding. So he knows my family. And I gave him a big hug, and I was just like, how fucking cool is this? How great is this that like this is happening right now, and this song means so much to me, and the fact that it's happening on our show right now, this is just beautiful, and thank you, in that way. So we are always like,
do you say it to Jason? Jason, do you say it to Randy? Do you ever look at him and say, I just want you to know I love you?
Not enough. We're beyond it.
And I'm really proud of you.
I'll tell you a really funny story about that. I'll tell you a very funny story about that. You can only hug someone that's in front of you. We're so close that like we're behind each other.
Jesus.
So I was on the phone with Randy and taking care of business and just talking like, we got to do this tomorrow. We got to do that tomorrow. We got to do this. And then I think my son distracted me for some second and needed me. And so I was getting off the phone with Randy, and I was like, okay, love you. Bye. And I was like, what? What? I was like, I said bye. He said, no, you said love you, bye. I was like, I did not say love you, bye. I think you said love you, bye. I would know if I said love you, then bye. Really weird.
You guys, this is weird.
I'm telling you. And he was like, why would you say that to me?
Say that.
Why don't you say I love you? Why can't
you
you say I love you? I want you to say it right now.
Because it's understood. I do love him.
Well, say it. Look at him.
I love you.
No, you didn't mean that.
I love you.
Felt good.
Do you really? You really love him?
I do love him. I do love him. I love him. Yeah, of course. I'm so. Of course.
What do you mean I love him? Of course I do.
Of course. I mean, you can't do what we do and not have a deep.
If you didn't love him, you wouldn't be doing this with him.
No way.
No way.
Why would you do that to your life? Like, why would you? I mean, this is
true. It's too short.
I think we appreciate each other now more than ever, and that's not just because we had kids. I think when we go off and go on the road together, when we conquer like another thing together, we do it together. We go into this battle together, and we don't say it. Yes, we don't vocalize it. Maybe we should vocalize it more to each other, but I think there is this feeling when we're out there and we're somewhere in America doing a show, when our name is on the marquee and people are coming out to see us, and that means something. And we've fought a hard battle to get there because families at home aren't happy that we're gone, and they just know that's part of it. Also, we're due a comedy act that there were no twins. There wasn't like the so-and-so to the Ziegelman twins, and they did it, and we're like, we got to follow their path. To get to the we had to build the road and then go down the road. Yeah, there is no road for twins to do it. There are teams before, but there's no road for there is now. So there is now, and there are twins who have come up after us who have said, we saw you guys do what you did, and it opened the door for us to not have to do this gimmick and that. We could just do what we thought was it, because we always felt all along the same way as you guys. So in that sense, understanding that we created that, I will pat ourselves on the back, which I don't do very often. I will do that in that sense and say, that's what we created there. But that's a form of gratitude. We talk about this all the time, and I'm sure we may have even talked about it with you.
Yeah.
This notion of the ladder, okay? We are on a ladder. When you get into this business, in order to even climb up a ladder, you have to look up. You look up, you see all the people who are, a couple notches above you. Why is that guy doing that?
How come
I'm never going to get to that.
That will kill you.
Okay. So, but that's your view. Yeah. That's your view is up. Every once in a while, you have to stop. You have to look back down the ladder, see how far you've come. Look at the line of people who are waiting to get on the ladder. Know that line snakes around a corner, and there are people don't even know what they're waiting for just to get in the line.
Yeah.
And you have to say to yourself, what we've done here is an accomplishment, no matter what the future is, no matter what I'm nervous about or I have anxiety about our own life. That'll always be there.
Yeah.
That will always be there. Can we hold both feelings at the same time? Can we say we are grateful and we can't believe it. Talk to the 14-year-old us who watched and recorded other people's bits and put them on TV. And now there are 14-year-old someone else's looking at our bits and quoting it and saying it to each other.
You know what? This is like that. To me, that's kind of what this show is about.
Yeah. Totally.
To me, that's the perfect ending. I mean, that's what the show's about. I mean, when I'm hearing this, because I think we all just forget. We forget to just, I've talked to you. You're like, I have anxiety. I got an Emmy nomination. I'm on a hit show. I got this, and I'm married. I have to, and there's all these. I got this podcast, which is way down in that order.
Yeah, no,
of importance.
it's up.
No,
It's up.
I mean, and I'm like, you meditating?
No, I've not been meditating.
We forget to do what's good for us,
Meditation
and
is
it's
so
love
important.
and charity and being
So
a good
important.
human, and that's what makes you feel great, right?
It does, and you have to really appreciate it. Know how to appreciate those moments. You kind of have to be stupid in certain moments, whereas you don't. You have to
On a
have
lot of moments.
a cloudy view of the whole picture.
Yeah.
There's a way to compartmentalize, and where we can get off stage after the Chappelle set went far better than we expected. And there were other comics back there who were going up after us. We're like, holy shit, I cannot believe you guys reset the room after an hour and a half of this. I cannot believe it. And then you come off stage and we're like, that felt great. That was really good. We still haven't sold the show that we got to go and pitch it tomorrow. But who cares?
There's always something
that
else.
little moment proved that we got to take that moment and understand how special that is and then really enjoy it.
Jason, Randy, the Sklar brothers, tell us where people can find you here. You have two podcasts.
Two podcasts.
Tell what are they called?
We have Dumb People Town, which you've done, and you should come do.
Fuck, I'd love to.
And we've also got View from the Cheap Seats, which is sports and comedy. We are at Sklar Brothers, Sklar Brothers on Twitter, spelled out, and on Instagram. We doing a bunch of live shows all over
Tons
the
of live
place.
shows. Supersklars.com. You can see all of our live dates if we're coming near you. We know our schedule pretty much from now until May.
Great.
So like in great cities, in great clubs, everywhere from Cleveland to Madison to doing our podcast live at the Bell House in Brooklyn in October, Denver, Austin, great cities, great clubs, and all great fans there too. And we are literally on the edge of
The next
hour special of what that's going to be. We don't know where it's going to go. We want to record it somewhere. We don't know where that's going to be yet, but we're right there for that too. So a lot of exciting stuff.
Well, you guys are brilliant.
Go out and check these
Seriously,
guys out.
I really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This
This is
was
awesome.
inspiring and fun. And it's like when you get two comedians and their brothers, and you're like, well, what's this going to be like? And
Could be
it
terrible.
was going to get confusing. It was going to get this. Are they trying to? And just the stories, the way you guys work. That's why you're
Isn't it
made for
amazing?
to
It's
work with each
amazing
other.
to watch.
It really is amazing to watch because
every time I talk to you guys, it's mesmerizing to watch. It's like a magic show, and I forget that we're having a conversation.
Well, that's by the way, that is always the best thing. There was a moment when we were doing the podcast live at Largo where Patton Oswalt was talking to us and he dropped his mic down on his lap and he kept talking. We're like, dude, you got to talk in the mic. He's like, oh my God. He forgot we were on a podcast. When we were doing at midnight, there'd be moments and times where we would just be riffing with whoever we were with and Chris, and we forgot that we were in front. I'm sure you felt that many times.
I would
on
argue
sets.
today. I felt that way
Yeah.
today. I felt like
If
we're
these
just
mics
talking.
weren't
We're
on
here.
stands.
I would. We were just hanging out and talking.
yeah, and there's still times where you guys want to beat the shit out of each other. Let's be
Man,
honest.
let's be real.
Let's not lose.
Let's be real.
Just remember that life is balanced.
Thank you guys.
Love you. Bye.
You're a beautiful man.